Let's talk about Midas again. Hello there, this is 10 Minute Talks, where I talk over 10 minutes and post whatever is usable. And I was watching a video recently by Core of Midas, where they spoke to how, for many people, they are their first VTuber. Midas's rig, their model, and their use of Warudo is so strong that people look at it expecting it to be a Blender or MMD meme. And it is attracting a whole bunch of people who have never seen or interacted with the VTuber space before and are interacting with them now. And I think it speaks to one of the most important things about growing as a creator. And it is being someone's first is so much more valuable than targeting the main group, right? The VTuber space is saturated. Everyone who watches VTubers already found the people that they like watching. It's why 2-3 years in, people who debuted 3-4 years ago still run with something like 2,000, 3,000 viewers. There was the massive spike in viewership during COVID, and while more people are watching streams now than ever before, the clientele stayed with the people they enjoyed, and new shops popped up everywhere with no audience. And it's because people like staying with what makes them comfortable and happy. Finding new things is aversive to people. People find it hard to find new things, even if they want them. So no, you're not going to get big as a VTuber anymore by appealing to VTubers and idle folk, which is kind of odd, isn't it? You'd think that you have a special advantage, and it is true that VTubers tend to have a 50, 100, 150 person boost based on the tight-knit community that is the incestuous VTuber community. Incestuous meaning VTuber content just builds off of itself. It is its own niche fandom, its ecosystem, and it keeps building off of itself, right? So it is possible to grow off of being a VTuber, off of being a VTuber's VTuber, your favorite VTuber's favorite VTuber, etc. But it isn't practical. My most long-running viewers and people who follow me are people for whom I was their first VTuber, and for a couple of them, they wanted to make their own VTubers and such, and I could say this to a lot of other creators. Archivist on Twitch, for example, doesn't fit the main criteria for being a VTuber. Their style is a mixture of anime and Western themes. Their conversations are inherently political, and the games that they play are not the trending games. They are pseudo-retro, and you'd think all this be a recipe for disaster in the VTuber space, and indeed, they've struggled in claiming the VTuber audience. But what they haven't struggled in is claiming a proper audience. People who are excited to show up and see them every single stream. Even after hiatus, they came back to something like 50 plus viewers, and that might not seem like a lot to the average VTuber space, but to the indies, to people who are building their community from scratch at the tail end of the pandemic after the bubble, that is incredible. Some of your favorite YouTubers and such don't hit those numbers, and it is because the appeal that Archivist has is not in the VTuber community. It is in queer communities, and it just goes to show that building your stuff around the traditional VTuber space, especially the amount of VTubers who popped up in 2022, thinking that they wanted to be like Luxium or like Council and Hollow Myth, they were for a rude awakening. Why would anyone watch indie Ike Eveland if Ike Eveland already exists? If you're an aspiring creator, especially if you're an inspiring VTuber, it is in your best interests to find ways to break out of your niche, to break out of the general population that you imagine would be viewing you. Because if you have a very, very clear idea of who's looking at you in mind, it might be because you're trying to steal someone's audience. Okay, let me amend that because that's very dramatic. VTubing content creation is not a zero-sum game. People hold 2 to 4 Oshis at any given time, with one Kami Oshi who's probably graduated or left the scene. There is nothing wrong with looking toward somebody's niche and wanting to occupy that too. Right. But if they dominate that niche, and everyone who wants to see that niche goes to them, and you want to be there so bad, it's good to give it a trial, maybe 2 to 6 months, but If you find yourself not growing, if you find that space saturated, there's no shame in moving, especially in trying to reach out populations and people who generally don't see you, who would never click on a VTuber in the first place. I'm not saying become a flesh tuber. That is the opposite of what I'm saying. But make your content appeal to folks beyond the VTuber space. I think Mari Yume, among other content creation tutorialists, have said that the VTuber bubble is already popped. The best VTubers, only the top 0.01% of VTubers are still growing. Everyone else is on the decline because VTuber watchers are either moving on or they're sticking to their guns, finding and keeping to the people that they like the most. And I mean no offense to VTuber watchers, but it means that to appeal to you, to appeal to them, is no longer a good investment. No, be someone's first. And it's hard to be original. It's hard to do something new and fun that people will click on. But if you are a VTuber who makes content for VTubers, think about the other content that you like and lean into that. Who knows? You can be the first VTuber in this or that space, in the video essay that's not true at all. The video essay space is mostly PNG tubers. You can be the first VTuber in... well, there's only Giri. See how this is? See how there are so many popular individuals who grew not from being a VTuber, but from being somebody's VTuber in a certain space? Ding, 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 10 minutes. It's worth a look.